encore presentation. Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to OMTimes with Joy of Business. I'm in Costa Rica. This is another pre-record, and it's got big, dark, stormy clouds here. So we're sitting outside having a glass of wine. You never know, we might be joined by a storm. So the topic for today is 6 impossible things. Like, have you ever watched or read that book, Alice in Wonderland? And it's like there's this scene from it, and the Queen is talking about, you know, doing 6 impossible things. And she says, why, sometimes I've done as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. So how many impossible things do you think you cannot do, but you actually could do? You could create them. So that's our theme, and we've actually got a whole campaign going on, which I'm going to let some of my lovely guests tell you about. So because I am lucky enough tonight to have 3 of my wonderful Joy of Business team members here who are the creators of the business, in truth. We've got the lovely Francesca, welcome. Hello. And Emily, welcome.
Hi.
And the lovely Miss Rebecca.
Hi.
Here we go. There's 4 of us tonight. So, well, today it should be some good stuff for you. So let me start by asking a couple of questions first. And it's like, so when I ask you, Emily, about 6 impossible things, and it's like, is that something that you grew up with? Is that something that was like unobtainable, or is that something you've always strived for? What comes up for you when I start talking about that 6 impossible things actually could be possible?
I feel like I don't know if this is an American thing or not, but I feel like we almost place value on making things impossible and making it a struggle. Like, at least the first example that comes to my mind is things as a mom, that I'm supposed to make it hard to take care of my kids and to also work and have a business and to take care of a house and what all these things. And at least in America, we're going to make it supposed to seem hard so that we can seem really awesome for doing it all. Okay. Is it an everything thing?
It's a people thing.
It's a people thing. So we try to make everything impossible, and therefore we try to get value from seeming like we're overcoming something versus the ease of just actually loving everything you're doing. And one of the, yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to, because that's one of the things that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, cracked me up when he was talking about, you know, when people see you and you're, you know, sad or depressed or you're stressed or something like that, people are always more willing to sort of be like, oh, what's wrong? Like, can I help you out? And they feel more connected to you when you're upset. Yet when you're enthusiastically happy and everything's going really easy and you are creating, you know, possible from impossible, but people are sort of like that, well, what's up with you? How come you're so happy? It's not going to last. What, are you on drugs or something? Or, you know, and go to that place. And it's like, what if you were actually willing to be different? So what if 6 impossible things was about you waking up in the morning and asking what you could be, what difference you could be, and what would it take to create that? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up in your life, no matter who says what, who projects what at you, if your family think you're crazy, because guess what, you are crazy anyway. And it's like, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So, Rebecca, Kiwi. But not really.
Not really the Kiwi.
Not really the Kiwi. Pretending to live in Christchurch. So what's your, like when the 6 impossible things came up and about, you know, creating them as being possible, I'm going to do this one with, you are 22, correct?
Si.
Yeah, okay.
23 actually.
Oh wow, 23.
I'm getting older.
Getting older. She's written books, created businesses, you know, traveled all over the world. She's done so many things that most people would like to do and accomplish by the time they're 40 or 50 sort of thing. So it's like, I do see you as this little go-getter. And one of the things I'd love to ask you about too is what sort of How did you create that, and what sort of feedback did you get, and how did you sort of create around that?
Yeah, I mean, like I was one of those people that did have a list of, you know, okay, so by the time I'm 30, I'm going to have done this and this and this. And so I set out on this list and I said about creating it. And then it all happened by the time I was 20. And I was like, shit, what do I do now? And then once I realized, because, I mean, what do I do now is actually a question. It wasn't my greatest question, but it was a question. And then things started showing up in my life, like access consciousness and joy of business. And if I realized that those things that I thought were going to take such a long time actually happened within a couple of years, then what I decided was impossible was actually probably easy.
So then what?
So then asking more questions and making it a game. I mean, this really is, what if all your limitations and everything you decided was really hard was just a game of, well, what's it going to take for it to be easy?
So what about the people out there listening going, yeah, but she probably was brought up with a, you know, nice, wealthy family. She had no problems. There was no abuse. There was no excuse or justification to actually create impossible things. What tools can you give people?
Yeah, and you know what's really funny with that is that I chose things that I couldn't have got from money anyway. I had to have done them from scratch and to prove that I could do them without having any advantage. But here's the thing, is everyone already has an advantage because you get to choose.
Choice?
Choice.
Tell us about choice, Rebecca.
You know, everyone, whenever the word choice comes up, goes, oh, God, here we go again. But here's the thing with choice is you do not have to, like, train for a marathon to make a choice. You don't have to run the clearing statement 10,000 times to make it happen. It's literally just, would you like to have this? Yes. Okay, great. Now what? Like, you've chosen to have this. Yes, this is the thing. So then what's it going to take for this to come to fruition? Rather than if something's like this block that you put in place that you have to overcome, which may mean you have to do 10 impossible things that you could never ever happen that aren't even real anyway.
10?
Well, I'm starting jumping with numbers.
Emily, did you have something more you wanted to say there? I can feel you.
Yeah.
Busting.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to say I worked with Rebecca before we were on Joy of Business. And I'm older than Rebecca, a lot older than Rebecca. And I was like promoting her, and she's like, send me your stuff. So she sent me her stuff, like, okay, I've written this ebook and these articles, I've been in this. And rather than, I think we often go to this place of, oh my God, this person's done so much more than me, or I can't, we go in that competition, that weird place of belittling ourselves and making ourselves wrong for not having done what we think we should do or could do. And what I did is I saw that, I was like, that is so awesome. She's 22 or 21, and she's done all of this, and rather than having it meet a wrongness, I was like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? Like, I can do so much more. So I think for me, one of the tools was, rather than ever going into wrongness, it was like looking at others and being like, I'll have that, and I'll have it my way, and I'll do it my way, and using it as an inspiration rather than when we go into the wrongness of why we can't do it.
But that's such a good thing of what you just said there, Emily, is like, I'll have it my way.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's impossible to me, or that I wanted to play with or to destroy that it was impossible, is not impossible to you. Like, everyone has different things. And what's funny about having the word impossible in this is the things that you've decided are impossible may possibly be the things that could be the easiest or the most fun or the greatest for you. So what if whenever you decided something was impossible, it was just an alarm bell for those really brilliant possibilities that you have available that no one else does?
Go ahead.
And I feel like the things, like just what you said, the things we think are impossible, I feel like are almost our biggest capacities that we're trying to hide from ourselves. Because I feel like everything I've decided must be impossible are actually, when I really look at it and ask myself about it, it's actually where I have the biggest capacity, and I'm scared to let it out.
So let's run the clearing on that. So what if you decided that it is impossible that isn't?
And everything that is time for God's saying where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
All right, and I'm good about Pock and Pot all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So I just looked up impossible. I just Googled what does impossible mean, and it says here, not able to occur, exist, or be done. It's very difficult to deal with, or very unreasonable, not capable of being accomplished, unacceptable, blah, 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 unable to be, exist, happen, etc. So every single thing that you brought into with the word impossible, like, you know, when you're a kid and you ask for something and one of your parents says, well, that's impossible, we can't do that. Or, you know, you can't. I mean, how many people have an idea of, like, how many holidays are you allowed to have a year? How much money are you allowed to earn? And it's like, you know, what have you decided is impossible that's actually possible? And everything of that is times of Godzilla, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, when you look up the word possible, it says able to be done within the power or capacity of someone or something. A personal thing that has the potential to become or do something, especially a potential candidate for a job or a membership on a team, etc. So everything that you've decided that you require the projection of possible at you before you can actually choose, as Rebecca and Emily were talking about. Can we destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if impossible just didn't exist?
Yeah.
What if, like what we were talking about, it was choice? So, Miss Francesca, we'll skip over to you with the Emily and Rebecca show. And I guess none of us are shy. None of us are short of a word, which is great. So, and we're all sitting back here in Costa Rica having an awesome time at an Access Consciousness 7-day event, having a glass of wine outside. It's hot, damn hot. So, Francesca, what comes up for you? What's the Italian word for impossible?
Impossible is impossibile.
Oh, there you go. Nice and simple.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Impossible is the same meaning, has the same meaning that you just said. And listen to them, and I have been if I think in my life, I let you know, guys, I'm quite 40. I'm 40-ish. And I 40-ish. I could say that now it's my second life, probably. And I became a mother very young. I was 19, and alone with the kids and my business. And really, if I look at my life in the past, I did so many things, impossible things. And the only difference from that it's now that before for me was like, oh no, it's never enough. Okay, but I create so much miracle, and also just if I remember, I really save also people's lives sometimes. Think that now I remember my mom told me, how could you do that? How could you know all these people? How could you solve all these problems? I said, wow, isn't it normal for you? Everything is really possible. So, and for you, Simone, can I ask you, what really is like the meaning impossible? Yeah.
So I think we're almost ready to go off to a break, so it might be like a cliffhanger. And impossible. No. Well, it's funny because it's like I've always looked at. It's interesting when you were saying about you almost living your second life now, because I feel like that too, and I see so many people. And we are off to the cliffhanger. We're off to the break here. So we'll be back real soon with Joy Business, and you're on OMTimes with Emily, Rebecca, Simone, and Francesca, talking about 6 impossible things, and Rebecca increases his hand.
What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Circle of Hearts Radio is the sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas, your host, and we're talking about 6 impossible things, but we increased it anyway, so it can be as many possible things as you would like. I'm here with Rebecca, Emily, and Francesca, and Francesca just asked me about pretty much like what does impossible or possible mean to me. And it's like I always, I don't know, I always, and one of the things that Francesca brought up, which I thought was interesting, is like she feels like it's almost like her second life now. And I see people choose this thing of like they go, oh, I chose a career, or I chose to get married and have kids. And it's like there's not just one choice. And it's like you can actually choose many, many, many different things. My life 20 years ago was completely and utterly different. I was very naughty, and I was very, very much of a party girl and did lots of naughty things, etc. But what I was actually looking for and seeking was consciousness. So when I met Gary Douglas, the first seminar I ever went to with him, I realized that that's what I was looking for. I mean, I was, doing dodgy things, taking drugs, doing all of that, and looking for something else. That's literally what I was doing. And one of the things, like all these different things that I desired in my life, people judged me for it or projected. Like I remember my mother saying at one time, oh, she'll be happy when she finds the one, and settles down and, gets a house. And her definition of happiness was having a house, being married, having kids, right? Probably even having a pet, So, and I used to stand there thinking, but I am happy. Like, look at me, I'm happy. And it's like, and I was happy to an extent. I must admit, I get happier every day. Like, I didn't realize, I thought I was happy, and now I'm very happy, and it keeps getting better and better and better and better. But I kept sticking to my guns with very many different things. Like, for example, I never felt like I desired to be in a relationship. I didn't think that I wanted to, to me it was like, how can you look at somebody and go, oh, I'd like to be with them in the next 50 years? It's like, I have no idea what I want to be doing next year. So I was always like, well, what if a relationship was more like something you did it for 5 years and sat down with a glass of, champagne and went, hey, that was great. You want to do it again? Or you want to, move on sort of thing. It's like rather than people do this thing of, going through divorce and the trauma and drama rather than just being like, thank you so much. That was awesome. I had so much fun with you. And now it's time to move on. So I always had this different point of view with relationships that was very much judged, but I always knew that something else could be possible. It's like I looked around and I didn't see any good relationships. So I was like, why the hell would I want to be in one? I was totally fine on my own. And it's like I, could choose whatever I desired to choose, etc. So I stuck to that on actually just choosing what I desired, even though there were so many projections at me, etc. I just so happened to be in a, wonderful relationship now, and he has a son. He actually bought a dog too, so I got the pet. I have the pet. So, yeah, and we bought a house. So we have all of that, but that was based on choice, not no choice. Now, that's one of the things, like I used to say, well, I'm not choosing relationship. Okay, so how many of you out there are going, I'm not choosing something, which is making it impossible for something else to show up, rather than one day I realized and I went, oh, I'm living in a no-choice universe. It's like being a vegetarian. You can go, oh, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat meat. Well, guess what? That's a no-choice universe. Rather than every day you could wake up and say, I prefer not to eat meat. Okay? That's a choice. Yeah. I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat meat is not a choice. Okay? Same thing as what I was doing. I don't do relationships. So rather than, all right, what if a great relationship did show up? And the second I made that choice to actually have that available, something changed and, I did have someone wonderful show up. And we actually create together. It's got to actually have something that contributes to you. Now, the other long-winded answer to your, I told you we all like to talk a lot. With business, I always knew business could be different. And I always knew, when I first started doing to certain businesses, my father, who was an accountant, was like, oh, well, you've picked a business that's going to take a lot of time and, it's going to be, Monday to Friday, and then you're going to have to go in on weekends, and it's going to, take this, and it's going to cost this amount of money, and da-da-da, and all these sort of, lists of regulations of what that business was going to look like. And I remember sitting there thinking, I know I can do this different. I know this can be different. And I also knew, I was smart enough to know that I couldn't tell him or tell anyone else. It was just like, let's just put something into action. So with business, I had a very, very different point of view. Obviously, that's why I've written a book called Joy Business and have a business called Joy Business and a radio show. And for the first time when I went to, one of the classes I went to with Gary Douglas was actually a business class in San Francisco. And I remember sitting in the front row thinking, oh my goodness, this guy is talking about everything that I thought was possible. He's the only person I've heard talk about business in this way, knowing that it can exist like this. And the way that is looking at everything as a possibility. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. There should never be any funky moments. There should never be any strangeness going on in business. I can guarantee you if there is, there's a lack of information. So what do you have to do? You have to ask questions. And it's like you ask questions of the people you work with and go, hey, what's going on here? Or do we need more information? Do we need to change something? Do we need to choose something different? Like, what is it that we need to do here to create the energy of possibility, not the energy of impossibility? So everywhere that you've been unwilling to be that, do that, create that, and generate that, truth, where you destroy and uncreate it. Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyond.
So,
back to the Rebecca and Emily show.
Back to the Rebecca and Emily show. So, but no, I actually want to ask you more questions. So in your stories, you share a lot of tools that you have used throughout this whole process, and you talk about the projections and the expectations and the mean people and the people that couldn't possibly see that you could create something that is considered impossible. So how can people deal with that and with those kinds of things going on?
Okay, so yeah, thank you. Because when I was doing it, it was just, what I did was more contract and not tell anyone anything and, think I'd go to the wrongness of me, but still choose it, right? But still go to the wrongness of me. And now that I have the Access Consciousness tools, which I highly recommend, get yourself to an Access Consciousness class or a Joy Business class. Rebecca and I actually have some live stream classes. This is a little advert in December, all the way from Mooloolaba, Queensland, Australia. So you could come to Australia in summer.
Come to paradise.
Or you could jump on live stream. So you can, if you want to know anything more about Joy Business, contact OMTimes at accessjoybusiness.com, and one of these wonderful people will get back to you too. So, but now, and it's like one of the things I would do is have a look at the energy of who you're talking to as well. Like, sorry, but just because they're family doesn't mean they have your back. If you haven't noticed this already, and it's like I'm sitting here with three wonderful girls who have my back, who would be closer to me than my blood family in supporting me and contributing to me than my family, okay? And it's like you've got to be willing to invite those people into your life, the ones that are actually going to be a contribution to you and your contribution to them, so that when you are shooting the breeze about some ideas that you have with business, etc., it's like someone who is honoring of you and grateful that you have these ideas. And it's like, oh, yeah, and what if you did this and changed this? And, had that energy that contributes, okay? So ask. And it's not as though there's 100 people out there who actually have that, unfortunately. We are trying to change the world so that will occur, and that it was very odd to have someone who doesn't contribute. But at the moment, unfortunately, the world functions from a lot of judgment, and judgment is not real, okay? Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is go, okay, everywhere that I'm judging me, everywhere I'm judging my ideas, everywhere that I'm judging what I could be creating, and because nobody seems to have my back here, I go, oh, no, I'm wrong, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
So I really just, and I know maybe people listen to the show because it's the Joy Business show, are already into business. And before I met you, Simone, I grew up in a family where my parents are both lawyers, and they made it so wonderful that they chose to not make money by being a public defender and by choosing jobs to be a lawyer where they didn't make money. And and that was honestly a really a wonderful thing that they did. And I honestly grew up thinking, entrepreneur, and yes, you have to do, and that the word entrepreneur and business actually felt like a bad word to me, for real.
And now I just service.
Yeah.
You are not in service of someone else, right? Yeah.
So you have to give back to the community.
You have to give back to the community. If you have any work, my mom was a juvenile public defender. So you make no money and you defend the kids, and like that is your work. And I totally bought that. And I completely, everything with business, I was like, this doesn't apply to me, and everything. But for some reason, I bought the Joy of Business book, and I read it, and it was like the one book of that. I started going to Access Conscious classes, and there was this Joy of Business book, and I was like, I don't know why this applies. I do not have a business. This does not pertain to me. But it was the one book I couldn't put down, and I kept reading and reading and reading. I was like, there's something about this, and then I started to get. And you say this, and you get it when you get it, but that your life, your living is your creation, it's your business. It's not this separate thing. It's not this about it. It can make money and it can contribute to you, but it's not this. I had totally separated it from anything to do with me, and that it was this. And when I started to get that it was, and Simone, your tools in that book are such a contribution of that. It was like I got to be all of me and create so much more than I thought was possible, and exactly what I thought was impossible. And all of a sudden, everything started to actually be fun, and that there wasn't a job or there wasn't work I had to go to. And I remember actually thinking, like, I would hear Simone talk about, and Gary and Dane, the founders of Access, talk about, well, I work 12 hours a day and every day maybe. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds awful. Like, I don't know. Like, I am so not buying that point of view. That's crazy.
How many hours are you working now, Emily?
Like, I'm totally doing that. And I remember going on vacation after I started working for you, Simone. I had planned a 7-day vacation with my family to, like, Mexico. And I had arranged it, so I did all this stuff ahead of time. I wasn't going to have to do any work. And I got there and I saw the pool, and I was like, oh, my God, I actually want to create. Like, I actually want to be creating, like, hours. And I was like, whoa, that is the difference. We have bought this crazy thing that, like, work and creation and business is this weird, impossible, hard work. But when you actually look at it, like, when you actually look at it, what is that like for you? Because what if it's not even yours?
And I'm going to take a picture and we're going to put it on our Facebook, because I just got to tell you, Emily's talking about all of this, and she's sitting here in these magnificent, huge, large, black pearls that look absolutely magnificent on her. And that's one of the things I actually want to talk about too in the next segment once we go to a break, which I think is really, really, really soon, about things like that you thought, like if you thought, buying beautiful jewels and things like that is impossible, what if it wasn't impossible, and what if it was possible? Like, what if you decided is impossible in your life that actually isn't? And everything is that is time to Godzilla, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So also, when this airs, the first 5 people who sign up on our website we've got a video series called Putting the Fun Back in Business. The first 5 people who sign up, we're also going to send you a free download of the Joy of Business book, what we've been talking about. So the first 5 people, go to our website, sign up to Putting the Fun Back in Business, and we'll send you a copy, a download of the Joy of Business book. So we'll be back really soon to talk about what you thought is impossible, that you can actually create as possible. Thanks for joining us.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Would your business and life like to be bigger? Would you like to have more fun with everything you do? Simone Milasas travels the world facilitating Joy of Business seminars. These classes are for you if you would like to create more money and joy, expand your business, and work smarter, not harder. Join her live or watch the online seminar from the comfort of your own home. Go to www.accessjoyofbusiness.com to register and for more information.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
We're having way too much fun here. There's all this giggling going on. It's like happy time. Well, actually, it's Simone Milasas here, Joy Business, Rebecca, Emily, and Francesca. And one of the things during the break that Emily was just saying, she was getting excited. She said, "This is great because I'm realizing how many things, like the tools that I use, etc., that I'm actually creating my life." And it's like, the impossible is becoming possible. So, yeah.
And what if one of the things that really changed my point of view and perspective of impossible and possible was really, I heard about from you and from Gary, write it down. We are talking about 6 impossible things before fracture. So write it down, 6 impossible things that you made possible. Just write it. It could be also 20, and look at how amazing you have been, like creating this.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, it is. And okay, so I'm going to tell a little bit of stuff here, is that when I first met Gary Douglas, like 14 years ago, roundabout, I was $187,000 in debt, okay? You wouldn't have been able to tell. I still made money. You still make money when you're in debt. You just spend more. So, I still had all of that. Now, if I had written down at that time the impossible things that I thought I couldn't have in my life, it would be very interesting because so many of them I actually have now. And I want to give you some examples. And it is funny because it's a bit of a vulnerable thing to sort of talk about it because in some way, in aspect, you feel like a bit of an asshole. When I went shopping with Gary, Douglas, and Dane here once, and they went to a shop, it was in Perth, Australia, and Dane walks in and he buys this Rolex, and it's $10,000. And I'm like, how do you just walk into a shop and buy a $10,000 Rolex? I'm like, that's just strange. Nobody does that, And it's like, and these guys would just do it from, this is what they desire, this is what they demand. Oh, that's a great watch, that's a great Rolex, I'm getting that, And I used to walk into all these shops with them, and I'd pretty much stand back just watching them and think, oh, yeah, well, I can't have any of this because I don't have the money. I mean, we're in Costa Rica right now, and some of the first photos I ever saw of a 7-day event that we have in Access Consciousness was from a Costa Rica event. And I was looking at them in Australia, and I sort of got a bit sad. And this guy that I was with said to me, "What's up?" And I said, "Oh, I'm looking at these photos thinking, I could never get there. Like, how could I, afford to, fly to Costa Rica and do all of that?" And he goes, "Really?" And I went, "Yeah, this photo in particular." And he goes, "That photo?" And I said, "Yeah." And it was a photo of this guy and Gary Douglas. And he goes, "We're in Sydney in that photo. It's mixed up with all the Costa Rica photos." And it was funny because I lived in Queensland, so to get to Sydney is really easy, And I went, but it put it into perspective. I had this point of view that I couldn't get to Costa Rica, but there was this one photo that was making me think, oh, I could never get there. And it was Sydney, which is like an hour and a half flight. I mean, probably to a lot of people listening, it is across the other side of the world. But it put it into perspective. So it's like, how many things have you decided you can't have, you can't obtain, you can't create, you can't generate because of some decision that you've made, some limitation, some judgment, rather than just the demand of actually allowing it to show up. Now, everything at that is times of Godzilla, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
All right, and on green, bad, pock and pot, orange, shorts, boys and beyond. So there was this, I used to have an old Toyota Tarago truck as well, and it was very funny because, Gary and Dane used to come to Australia and I'd be hosting them in classes and it was all gutted out, the whole truck, because I had a business that I worked at the market, so I didn't have any, seats in the back or anything. And I'd pick them up at the airport and I'd have a crate in the middle of the driver's and the passenger seat, and I'd have a crate there with a couple of cushions, And I'd pick Gary and Dane up, and Dane would always get the middle seat on the crate. And Gary would put his arm around Dane as like a backrest, you know, and we'd drive to where we were going, you know. And they were fine. I mean, they're so, you know, they're grateful that I was picking them up, and we were having these classes in Australia, etc. And then one day I was like, you know what, I need a new car. And I saw these convertible Saabs. And Gary happened to be in town at the time, and I said, will you come help me? Will you come look at these cars with me? And he said, sure. So he went to this Saab shop, and we're looking at this car that's like $20,000, convertible blue Saab, matches my eyes, you know. And he looks at me and he goes, is this the car you really want? And so quickly, I go, no. And he goes, what car would you like? And I went, convertible BMW. I'd always desired a convertible BMW. And he goes, right, let's go. Let's go to the BMW shop, which to me was something that was impossible. So we go to the convertible the BMW shop, and I see this convertible, and I'm like, oh, that one, you know. And the guy goes, would you like to test drive it? You know, this reality and all of that. And I'm like, no, I don't need to. That's the car I want, yeah. So we did test drive it, though. $75,000, and I'm like, $75,000. How am I going to afford $70,000? Gary goes, well, let's go talk to the guy, you know. And, of course, any car insurance, you know, BMW Finance will do anything to make sure that you can get that $75,000. But I did, and I bought it. And it's like, now recently I just got another one. And it's like, it's an M2 convertible, and it's so fast, and it's so much fun. And then even recently, I think it was last year, I was at Dubai International Airport in the first class lounge, and they have all this personal shopping area, which is fabulous. And I bought a Rolex that was like $22,000. And I just bought it because I could. I had like a couple of hours spare in the morning. And it's like my life has completely changed. And it's funny because I'm talking about this on the radio show, and that's what I mean when I say, how many times do you judge what you actually create as possible that you thought was impossible, like me going, oh, I sound like a bit of an asshole. But it's like, you know what? I've created this. I demanded it. I asked for it to show up. You know, I love what I do, and it's like I enjoy the business, and it's like, and I've asked for more to show up, and I've been willing to receive it. So how many things have you asked for that you haven't been willing to receive because of other people's judgments? Yes, how many people judge you that you have a Rolex, that you have a beautiful convertible BMW, that you travel business or first class, that you have two BMWs? No, I'm selling the other one to Gary and Dane. So, so everything of that is times a gazillion we destroy and uncreate it. Yes. All right, and I'm good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and girls. I want to say something very funny. If you were here, you can feel the energy of the other girls going, I want to say something. Emily was first pulling the energy.
Okay. So I want to say one of my favorite things about when I read the Joy of Business book was when you talk about when you used to be outside of like clubs in the evening and you were selling glitter and giving hugs for money and created a lot of money from that. And I realized, I don't know, I just had so many weird points of view. Like when you hear people talk about BMWs and pearls and all this stuff, I mean, it was so out of my reality for so long, and I would have completely had judgment. So you're sitting there listening to this thinking, like, who are these people talking about? Like, having, you know, I just want to say, like, I was so there. And I also knew that I really loved to have nice things that my body loved. I remember who I'm married to now, we picked up my first date in a BMW, and I was like, oh, God, that's kind of nice. And I remember, like, I drove it for the first time. I was like, oh, my God, I totally get why people buy these cars. This is awesome. Right. I was like, they do. They really, really do. But I had so many judgments about why I wouldn't let that into my life and why it wasn't good and why I wasn't doing enough to serve others if I was actually having that for myself. And what I loved about reading your book was seeing that progression of, like, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always known that actually business is fun and it's living, and it can be selling glitter, and it can be giving hugs, and it can be giving, and whatever that is, it's actually all okay. And if you could have no judgment along the way of wherever point of that you are, whether it's you're making $5 for a thing of glitter, or you're hugging someone, or you're buying $20,000 of pearls, like whatever that is, it's actually all just what you're willing to receive and what you're having fun with and what your body likes and what is expanding your life. And if there's no judgment, it can all just be really, really fun, and nothing's impossible. And
I
people
love that.
think I talk fast.
That was beautiful, though. I just want to clarify for 1 second with the she's saying I'm giving hugs away, paying for it. No. It was years ago at the Sydney Gay Mardi Gras in Australia, and I really wanted to go, and I wanted to go to these parties, and I didn't have any money. So a friend of, if you've been listening to my show a lot, you may have heard this story. But a friend of mine and I went, okay, what can we do to create money? Because we need to go to these parties. And they cost a lot of money, blah, 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 you know.
Priorities.
So priorities. So we made up all these tubs of glitter. We had glitter all over our house. And we walked around with these big baskets going, glitter for $5, hugs for free, glitter for $5, hugs for free. And we made like, you know, a few $1,000s that night. It was great. And it's like, and we made a lot of friends. We gave away a lot of hugs. But everybody who hugged us was like, oh, yeah, I'll get some glitter, you know. all the trannies and stuff being, Dove, yeah, what colour you've got? Put it on me. And, you know, it was fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, so how much have you not allowed yourself to have fun by going, instead, I could have gone, oh, I don't have the money to go out, so I'm just going to stay at home and watch TV and, I don't know, eat chips and Coke or something and have a bad time and judge myself and grow the lungs of me for not creating. And that's my, you know, poor, limited life, the joy of limitation, rather than going, all right, what could I choose, as the girls were mentioning before, what could I choose that would change all of this? What choice could you make today that would change your entire reality, including your business, your life, your living, your relationships, your sex life, your body, everything? Everything at that is times of God's zillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
All right, and I'm good and bad. Pocket pot on and shorts, boys and young. I think we got like a minute-ish, maybe two, before we go to break.
And we talk about choice, and that's true. It's the choice. And also, I was, if you use these tools that Simone is sharing with you, and
Simone, Francesca, Emily, Rebecca,
your business access tools, they really work.
No,
I just bought a 22 carats gold necklace and earring set. It's for the value of 9,000 Australian dollars. And yesterday I was thinking, I couldn't ask for something like that. But I just do it and just ask what will create in my life ahead. How could I buy it? And I choose it to buy it, and then everything came after that. So please choose.
Okay, if you would like to check us out in our jewels, we're going to take photos after the show, and we're going to put them on our Facebook to promote this show as well, so that you can check out these wonderful, wonderful people in my life. Like, seriously, truly, and it's like, I mean, what if happiness was just a choice? Oh, yeah, it is. Happiness is just a choice, and it's like everything that your whole entire life is just a choice. Rebecca's jumping at the bit.
I am. So here's the other thing, too, with this whole 6 impossible things before breakfast. Like, there's so many things that are actually just quite small that we could add in. Like, what if you could wake up happy? Or just not waking up tired? Or what if there was this ease with money? It's just like you didn't have to worry when you put out your card for something, is there enough money in this account? You already knew and you had this ease with it. What if it was some of the simple things that affected every single part of your life? What if you didn't have to worry about having the people that were close to you judging you? Like, there's such an easier in space of just asking these questions. And, I mean, this whole topic of impossible things can be this, like, it puts a lot of energy, like, I don't know what's impossible. But what if it was the small things that were easy that you'd be neglecting? That's food for thought over the next break. We'll see you in the last one.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back really soon. We're enjoying this, so I hope you're enjoying this. You enjoy business. Simone Milasas, your host. I'm here with Emily, Rebecca, and a lovely Francesca. See you soon. Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Milasas, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality, and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Joy of Business, and you're talking about 6 impossible things. Actually, what we were just talking about in the break, well, one of the things we were talking about was horse riding. And the funny thing is, and it's like, I mean, I remember horse riding when I was a kid, years and years and years and years and years and years ago. And then when I met Gary and we came to Costa Rica, we started horse riding, and I was like, oh, I'm scared, I'm fearful, and, you know, had all these justifications and stuff. And he was like, who does that belong to? Whose is that? And I wasn't sure, and I got home and I was telling my mum about going horse riding, and she goes, oh my gosh, I remember seeing you screaming across the paddock with your hair, you know, because I had really, really long hair down to my bottom, and, you know, your hair screaming across, and you'd be galloping across the paddock, and I'd think, oh my God, she's going to fall off. And I was like, oh, that was hers, not mine. So it was like, it was never my point of view. And it's like, you know, impossible things. Guess what? I actually have a horse now in Costa Rica, and it's like, I mean, how extravagant is that? And how many things have you decided are extravagant that you can't actually receive in your life because you've decided extravagance is what? A judgeable offense?
Yeah, being an asshole.
Being an asshole? Impossible?
Impossible.
All of those things. So everything that is times a Godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
All right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Well, I mean, the other thing, too, is if you didn't get to judge you and the way that you would actually like your life to be, how would you choose it or design it? I mean, I refused to do this for years. Both my mother and Simone have been telling me, you have to figure out exactly how much money it costs you to run your life. And I finally sat down and did it in January of like, okay, well, this is how many classes I want to go to this year. This is the amount of jewelry I would like to be buying. This is how many times I would like to go out to a restaurant. This is how many times I would like to get body work. And I listed it all out. And it wasn't actually too much money. It was $120,000. And then the next thing that my mother...
$120,000 what, a year?
Yes,
or?
And that's New Zealand dollars, which isn't actually...
It's nothing.
It's nothing. And then the next thing that my mother was hammering at me was, you know, are you going to actually do how much money you made for this year? And I actually made more than I'd ever made before, and it put me into the next tax bracket.
I remember when that happened, and you said to me, I'm opening a bottle of champagne because I've moved up to the next tax bracket. And I was like, that's a great idea.
And, I mean, that was judgeable for so many people. And then I was judging myself and going, oh, my gosh, like, look at where my friends are, and then look at where I am. And then I overheard my mom talking to one of her friends. She was using me and my success to slightly needle, but really inspire and encourage her to get out of her own tax bracket and to move on and go beyond where she was currently starting. And it singed her a little bit, like, your 22-year-old daughter is making more money than me. And it worked. And now she's making so much more in her business. And I was like, wow, if that's what me having more money and being a success does, then I'm having it. Like, look at how much that actually does inspire and change the world.
I was going to say, so wait, all those things that I thought were judgeable, like having a Rolex, having my BMW, actually making money, you making more money than your mother, etc., it's inspiring. So everywhere that you've misidentified and misapplied, you actually creating your life and receiving, the big R word, receiving more, that is a judgeable offense rather than an inspiration to the entirety of the world. I mean, look at your kids. And it's like your friends. What if you could be an inspiration to people? So everywhere that you've been absolutely and utterly refusing to be that. Truth, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all known shorts, boys and beyond.
And I love you, Simone. And
you guys are.
Like, and can I just say, like, when you're like $100,000, and that's not that much. I mean, for so many people in the world, to get into six figures is the impossible. I mean, truly. Nice. I think the average in the U.S. I don't know is $40,000 a year, and six figures is like impossible, unattainable. So I just want to say, I mean, we don't want to seem like we're like, oh my God, but truly, when you change your point of view, you can change what you're creating. And God, that sounds so simple. And I remember hearing that, I'm like, that can't be that easy. But honestly, we kind of get brought up in a family where, like, okay, my parents are making, $50,000, $60,000, and that's amazing. And when you start to go a little bit above, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And there's so much more possible. And so one of the basic questions of Access Consciousness is, how does it get any better than this? And what that does is we all have this upper limit of receiving, and we're all comfortable with receiving a certain amount. And when you keep asking, how does it get any better than this? It keeps raising it and raising it and raising it. So if you've been comfortable with being like, oh my God, making $60,000 a year would be incredible, or oh my God, six figures a year would be inconceivable. When you keep asking, how does it get any better than this? It takes you out of it. And I know it seems like you want to find an answer and how am I going to figure it out and what job am I going to get and what am I going to have to do. And you actually don't have to do it. You actually just have to ask the question of what would it take to create that and what would it take to be in the energy. And it's actually not as hard or impossible as you think. It's actually energy, and it's actually not what you have to do. And it's actually just who you already are. Then you don't have to do anything different. You actually just have to be what you already are. There's nothing to find. There's nothing to seek. There's nothing you have to do. You already are it.
And I mean, here's the greatest thing about Access and Joy of Business is that everyone is like pulling out their hands like, me next to the iPhone. It's like all of these tools are in one or two places. I mean, there's so many tools in the Joy of Business book alone. Like, I've seen Emily's copy. It's literally dying, like it's ear thumbs so much because she's been through it so many times. And, I mean, Simone's doing a How to Become Money workbook, a workshop, which has the most phenomenal tools of money that I've used. And the thing is with all of this is that you actually already had it in the beginning. Like, we're not trying to give you something new and shiny. Like, when did you stop believing in the impossible? When did you stop believing that things were easy? Or that, like, Nash, there's a story with Simone about Nash where he goes, don't worry, everyone just puts money on the ground. We'll just pick it up.
Which is my son, my 10-year-old son. What if you had that point of view?
Yeah, so what if that was the point of view that we had about money? I mean, if you had that point of view about money as an adult, like, really, what would that show up like? It would be different to any other reality here before.
Thank you, Rebecca. I just want to say a couple of things. You talk about that last January you really like put down what will cost the life that you would love to desire to create, right? And I avoided this for such a long time. Since one day I was so pissed off and bored. I said, okay. I jumped in my daughter's bed and I said, look, take your iPhone. I will have mine. So calculation. How much will cost to rent my apartment? A private school for my daughter, dentist. And how much money for my clothes, my classes, my airplane, everything, as you say. And then it comes up 10,000 euro a month. Then after that, I can say a couple of weeks, they ask me to work more. So I start to earn more money. I traveled in 1 year back and forth 3 times to Australia. I came back to Costa Rica twice in 12 months. So that has been another phenomenal, right? And I actually don't. You were talking about something else, Emily. Do we have a break, Simone, now?
We're about to end the show in about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
3 minutes.
And, I like. Go ahead.
So actually, one of the things that you were just saying there too is like, how many of you decided that travel is impossible? Yeah. I mean, you know, Francesca traveling to Australia 3 times, and it's like me going, oh, I can't get to Costa Rica. Gosh, now I go to Italy like, you know, twice a year, and it's like some people do that once in a lifetime, and it's like. But what I wanted to do, just real quick, I'm going to send it back to you, Francesca, because I know you. But I just looked up. Average household income in New Zealand is $85,000. Average household income in US is $50,500. Average income in Australia is $80,000. Average income in Italy is confusing. They don't really give it to me, which is very funny. So very Italian. But one of the things that I wanted to ask is like, how many of you think that you can only have one job?
Yes.
And everything that is time to Godzilla and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyond. I would really like to invite you guys onto mine and Brendan Watt, my partner in crime, my partner in making money, to a How to Become Money workbook shop. It's 3 days and it's $300.
3 days in a row.
3 days in a row. So it's like bam, bam, bam. Let's get it done. And let's change your point of view around money. Let's make it possible instead of impossible. So, Francesca, what's your last thing that you'd like to say to everyone before we go?
Referring also the How to Become Money workbook is also really changing your point of views about money. And Emily before was talking about the point of view, and I want to share with you guys. I was riding here in Costa Rica a couple of days ago. They gave me this beautiful horse, and we started riding, and he was so slow, and everyone was so far away from me. Okay, cool, you are slow. And I had the point of view that this horse was slow. When I get over there, he starts running, and he was leading. He was leading all the other horses when we were coming back. And I said, wow, so if that's really true, it's instantaneously when you are changing your point of view, the reality changes as well. So what point of view could you change that will change totally your reality?
Getting out of judgment, making a different choice. Everything we've been talking about on this show today, we hope you've enjoyed this. Everything that is times a gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyond. Don't forget to check out our website, accessjoyofbusiness.com, and you can sign up for putting the fun back in business.